What's up, everybody? Let's see, recap. Well, we'll just start there. This week was pretty good. Let's see, it was a refeed week starting Tuesday of last week. Check-ins on Monday. So I updated my intake for Tuesday through Sunday, going back to the previous calories, total macros today. So I'm back down to whatever that intake is, which is 200 grams of protein, 58 grams of fat, and 190 grams of carbs per day, except for refeed day, which is 190 protein, 70 grams of fat, and 380 grams of carbs. So pretty hefty refeed day. I think it's like 2,600 calories, something like that. Anyway, so that's what I've got for that. But this was a refeed week. First couple of days I was super lethargic. Mostly I didn't really sleep very well. I had a small ingrown nail on my toe that made it really hard to walk and to sleep for those 2 days. But I ended up getting it under control and healing and not infected anymore. So that made that easier. Steps were a bit of a challenge those days, but I got them. It just got progressively worse on Monday and Tuesday, plateaued on Wednesday, and was mostly better by the evening of Wednesday, allowing me to sleep better on Wednesday and Thursday. And now it's just basically 100% healed. It's just gone. Neosporin, Band-Aids, makes a difference. Just recognizing it made the difference. Other than that, I've just been waking up earlier. So I normally wake up or at least my alarm is set for 4 o'clock. I go to bed at 9:30 to 9:45. Usually closer to 9:30, but I scroll my phone for a few minutes, and about 9:40 is pretty common when I actually fall asleep, because I didn't fall asleep immediately. That's just how I am as a person, which is beneficial to, well, I guess all things. There's nothing bad about falling asleep like that unless you're driving, which hasn't happened and won't happen. That's not really when that manifests. It's just when I'm relaxed and ready to sleep that happens. Anyway, but then in the morning I wake up about 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes to an hour before my alarm goes off each morning. So at about 3:20 to 3:45, I wake up just fucking amped for the day. I feel well rested. It's about 6 hours of sleep total. Normally I'm used to getting about 6.5 or 6 hours and 45 minutes. But now that I'm getting close, or I'm more dieted or whatever, I'm waking up at 6 even on weekends, and I'm just so excited to get on with my day, do coaching work, do programming. I build templates and stuff on Excel for work and for my applied strongman, so I do a lot of that. Anyway, so I just wake up and I'm just excited to do that shit. So I wake up, have my coffee, cook my breakfast, sit down and start working on that while I'm eating my breakfast and drinking my coffee, and it's just honestly a blast. Then I hit the gym. That's what I do. That's my morning. For the most part, the rest of the week, that's nutrition. Calories were all higher. I'm still in a deficit technically that week. I think I had about 250 calorie deficit according to Macro Factor. My expenditure is at 2,686, 2,680, 2,700 calories per day is what I'm expected to burn according to the Macro Factor app. That's actually been steadily climbing since I reached that all-time low a few weeks ago. I don't know, now that I hit a stable kind of spot, it's just kind of rising back up. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just hit my low end of adaptations to a deficit. So my need's as low as it was going to get. Now it's stabilizing. I don't know. It did go up a little bit more with refeed, but not in any way that seemed incongruent with how it was rising anyway. So it might be related, it might not be. Maybe it was slowing down. We'll see now that I'm back in a deficit for the remaining time. But yeah, so that's nutrition. But yeah. My low weight. I'm weighing in at about 138 pounds. 138.6 I think I was this morning. My lowest yet has been 137.0 or 138. I don't really pay attention after I log it, to be honest. But I know my trend weight is 139.4 on Macrofactor, whether or not that means anything to you. But that's basically where my weight stabilized during half of my weigh-ins for Refeed. So kind of tracks pretty well, so that's a bonus. Yeah, so that's whole nutrition, that's sleep. Mood has been actually pretty great. Been able to go on a lot of walks. General energy has been pretty great with all the walking and just kind of work in general. No complaints there. It's been actually quite nice, except for those 3 days of lethargy from not sleeping well or my Refeed not catching up yet. But we'll see how energy treats me in the weeks to come. I've got a little bit more fat to lose before I am at that point where I would consider myself world-class shredded or world-class level conditioning. Right now, I feel like I could step on stage and be happy with where I'm at conditioning-wise for maybe a local pro level or a local level, but I don't really want to step on stage until people are like, until to me it looks like I don't have skin on anymore. That's kind of where my goal is. It's an ambitious goal, but I have people like Brett Freeman to compete against in my weight class, so that's the kind of conditioning I'm planning to bring. Anyway, I'm 5 weeks out. I think that's really kind of it for the general recap. Training's been meh. Nothing really spectacular there. No gains. No significant reductions. Bench was a little hard today. Today's my bench fly day. Very bro day. But yeah, all of my bench work was a little bit heavier than usual, so I could kind of feel it, despite today being my first day back on lower calories. But like I said, I've been in a deficit the whole time, just a much smaller deficit. So yeah, that's it for training. Let's do the random topics. I actually made notes today. And right now, I'm basically going to talk about what sets me up well for bodybuilding and kind of talk about the support that I have and what I do personally to facilitate success. So first things first, I have an outrageously good support group between who I've met in the fitness industry, who I've met in the beer industry, my friends and family. I'm going to start basically in the reverse order of what I just said, starting with family. My wife is extremely supportive. I can't say enough good things about Caitlin. When I'm hangry, she's understanding, or at least we settle it pretty well shortly after, once we've both cooled down and realized we were probably both hangry, or that I'll come back and revisit the conversation about, hey hon, I'm sorry I was being irritable. Let's talk about it and whatnot. But apart from the irritability and hangriness, she's been really supportive of going on walks, spending time, activity together, giving me time to do my meal prep, giving me space when I feel like I need space or I'm overwhelmed with all of the tasks that I've overtaken or taken in the last few months, as well as being supportive with the financial costs that are involved with bodybuilding, like building this gym, stuff like that, TANs, entry fees, memberships for all the different federations, things like that, and just generally saying, hey hon, I support you and what you're doing, you're gonna kill it. It's been outrageously great. Next up is family, the rest of my family. I've heard of other families, of other competitors saying like, hey, you should eat more, or criticizing, or setting up different scenarios in which bodybuilding is difficult. I'm very fortunate or very privileged in that my family is entirely supportive. There's been no, hey, you need to eat more. It's more of, hey, I'm coming to visit, and they reach out, what foods do you need? Is there any special stuff? Are you bulking or cutting right now? Those are the legitimate questions they ask whenever I say to, I'm coming to visit. And I don't ask them to do that. I don't make these requests, but they know me well and they care enough to reach out and specifically ask under their own own free will, like, hey, what can we do to support what your current goals are, whether or not it's cutting or bulking, getting specific foods, cooking specific things, or at least having things available, and that's awesome. And I also don't have to, I've never had to deal with, hey, you're here on vacation, why don't you just not care for a day? Certainly they would love for that. And often I do take that approach. I just don't care for holidays or traveling often, or for most meals. Because for me, one of my priorities in life is for the choices I make to impact people negatively as much as possible. It's a choice. It shouldn't impact people negatively if it's a choice. I mean, there it is. It can impact me negatively if it's a choice, but that I have to deal with either privately or with good communication with those I care about. So that's kind of what that is. Other than that, my family is just absolutely great for really all of those things. My sister is an athlete. She does a lot of running. She did a lot of running in softball in high school. I mean, that's kind of it. I do remember this is kind of a fun story. This isn't about my sister anymore, but when I was first starting my fitness journey, my parents wouldn't buy whey protein, which is fine because we had plenty of food in the house. Like, I could have easily just supplemented with more food. But they wouldn't buy it because it was very, I don't know, I think it had to do with the marketing for protein supplements and how it was so anabolic, or basically steroids, and how they advertised for it. So they were uncomfortable with that particular purchase for me in high school. And I just love that. It's just kind of a fun memory. It was annoying at the time, like it really made me mad, but it was something that I understood I had to work around, so I just bought it myself, and they were fine with that, which is really interesting actually, because they specifically did not want to purchase it because they had a reason, or a moral or perceived moral dilemma with that product, but because I spent my own money on it, they were willing to be like, all right, that's fine. I mean, it's not like I was buying booze and cocaine, so they didn't have to worry as much, but it's cool that they were able to support me despite having that kind of distance between what we considered okay. And since then, now they have protein and stuff on their own for their own exercise. But yeah, so that's family. Back to friends. I have an outrageously great friend group as well. I'm very fortunate that all of the friends that I have are in a similar vein to my family, where basically no one says, hey, you should just, not care for a day, or you should eat more. It's always really, hey, what are your goals right now? And how can we help facilitate that, or whatnot? Or we just don't specifically do food-related things in the times where it matters. But I mean, a good example is we're having it's not Game of Thrones, it's whatever the most recent show is, but I can only think Game of Thrones. We have like a watch party every Wednesday now. I say every, but it's been once, probably this Wednesday as well, once we plan it. But the host wanted to make soup, so I got a private message from the group chat saying, hey, I want to make vegetable soup. Is this in alignment with your goals? Is this something that you can have? And I said, well, I mean, I normally have to plan for foods kind of a day ahead, and this is the same day, so next week I'd love to just work it in, and I'll just get a recipe from you, and I'll just figure out what it is roughly, and we'll work it in. And I kind of said that, waited a minute, and I was like, you know what? Let's just move my diet around today, see what kind of soup we've got. She sent me the recipe, and I said, cool. I've got the recipe. I'll figure it out. But then they asked, hey, boy, should I weigh anything for you? I have a food scale. I was like, no. Like, if you want to, the only thing you need to do is just weigh the pot at the end and weigh the total thing at the end, so I just know what the weight of the soup is, so I can divide it out by 8. That's just because I had the recipe. It was 8 servings. I didn't know, but I got there, and she had weighed every ingredient as she put it in, teared it out, wrote it down, and had it for me, so I could just build it in my MacroFactor app. I could track it, divide it by 8. I had all the weights, and it was absolutely great. I did not ask for it. I specifically told her, like, please don't weigh everything. You don't need to. That's a lot of extra work that I don't necessarily need you to do on my account. But that's just kind of the caliber of friends that I have that aren't bodybuilders, that aren't lifters, that are just good friends that have common non-fitness related interests. And that's super fortunate. They're beer people. They're my beer friends and people I've met from the beer industry. So that's friends and family. Work is super fortunate for me. Basically, I work at a brewery. I run the packaging and cellar side. A lot of that is administrative work or physical labor if I choose to do it. For the most part, I just have the labor to do that work. So I'm able to set my own schedule for the most part, which means on Mondays, check-in day, I come in later so that way I can get a little bit more time to train on Mondays, to plan my week, things like that, and I go into work at 9:30. I'm in a place where I can walk downtown during my lunch. We'll have working lunches and then use that time to actually go on walks to keep my steps and activity up if I'm not doing labor at work, which is great. So work is very conducive, but more specifically, the owner of Ponysaurus, where I work, Nick, one of two owners to be more clear, has been extremely supportive of my bodybuilding as well. I've got in the works a branded singlet for powerlifting. I have, he's been to my it was a world record for about 6 hours until the European guy got it. But my log American record, he was there for that contest, which was really kind of meant a lot. He was the only person who was able to make that one. So it was nice to have someone in my corner that day, especially as busy as a guy as Nick is. But also when everything shut down for COVID, I was able to bring all of my equipment that I was borrowing from James at Spider Strength in Raleigh, famous Raleigh gym for strongman. We can get more into that in a minute with people that support from the industry, the athletic industry anyway. So, but yeah, I had basically a gym in our brewery warehouse. There was cans on one side, there was glassware on racks, and I was using pallets as my squat rack and bench rack for J-hooks, essentially, floor pressing from that, until I was able to buy a press or a bench. But yeah, I also used for rows a bunch of bands that I got from Elite FTS wrapped around our pallet jack, because you can pump that up. I was using that as basically a banded machine row. If you want to see those videos, you can scroll way back on my Instagram. Once you see a warehouse, you'll be pretty close. That was earlier in the warehouse days, so it's pretty close to shut down if you want to find those rows. But that's really work. A lot of support there. The next thing is people in the industry. I've just got a great network of people. I've got Greg Schultz, registered dietitian in Hillsborough, who also works with Stronger by Science. I've got James Deffenbaugh, who lent me for free a ton of equipment when everything shut down and he couldn't run the gym. I was able to go over there and pick up plates, some bars, collars, all kinds of stuff for being able to lift in that warehouse, like I mentioned. And that was free. James didn't have to do that. He's been an extremely supportive dude ever since I moved to North Carolina. In fact, when I moved to North Carolina and I was helping kind of paint and put some work into the gym, I didn't pay for that gym for about 5 months. I don't think anyone did. It was essentially, hey, this gym isn't complete. And until it's a complete, furnished, perfect product, no one's paying anything. So I think basically all of us had a free membership for several months while there wasn't paint on the walls or a staircase built to the mezzanine, shit like that. So yeah, that's kind of my support. Boom. Hit all support. Next thing is what I do specifically, intentionally to support myself as an athlete or to set myself up for success. First thing is I practice what I call flexible structure. So I live within a pretty habitually driven, structured life. What that means is I do apply quite a bit of structure to my daily activities. So I've got a usual wake up time, a usual breakfast, general times that I eat, a general time that I go for a walk, a bedtime for sure, and certain times that I do my applied strongman work, certain times that I lift, which is basically this time each morning. It's a little bit later now because it's Monday, and then family time as well. What's important is the flexible end of that spectrum. So for people who are as structured as I am, there can be an extreme amount of stress that is applied when that structure is bent, broken, or otherwise no longer in place. And a lot of people saw that in COVID when their structures and their daily breakdowns were just totally thrown out the window. And the important thing to me is I had previously recognized that if there is an issue with my structure, that I would get stressed out. And one of my primary goals for life is to be chill vibes in general, not chill vibes only, because that's rigid, that's not flexible. And so I set up structure with contingencies, or at least an allowance for error. So if I can't go to bed, I'm not pissed off at Caitlin because I'm stuck somewhere at 9:45 because I should be going to bed at 9:30 and we got a 40-minute drive home. I might be slightly more irritable or be like, well, I'm definitely ready to go to bed, hon. But I want to be able to I want to be able to allow for those events, schedule outgoing things occasionally as needed, or if things go wrong, I have contingencies already somewhat planned. And a contingency is basically I've got contingencies for waking up late. If I wake up late, these are the general approaches I would take to remedying that in a way that keeps me less stressed. Maybe I'll lift later. Maybe I have a backup breakfast of cereal and a protein shake that I just know I'll have, so that way, I don't have to have it ready. I just need to know, I wake up late, am I fucked? I guess my whole day is fucked. That's not a thing that I allow myself to do. I just let myself chill out and have a backup plan. And that sort of approach continues through all of the most important habits that I have. That way, if I break a habit, or if I break the structure that I've applied to myself, I'm not devastated, stressed, bothered, or broken. None of those things would apply in that situation, and that is very important for maintaining a calm, cool, chill life. And chill life is kind of important to me and how I interact with my friends and family. Because if some of those broken things, like I can't hit a meal because I'm up late and I'm not able to get ready for my next day because I'm hanging out with friends, my friends don't deserve for me to be shitty to them because I didn't plan, didn't have contingencies, or don't have flexibility. No, not okay. So, and that is what I do. So I've got planning, contingencies, and flexibility. Habits, same thing, just as important. I kind of covered on all of that. Next up is communication, which is basically where everything builds from. I don't know if I should have started that earlier or whatnot. But I understand that I mess up. I understand that I snap at my wife. I think I hear her out there watering plants. But when I do that, it's important for me to double back to everyone that I have either wronged, miscommunicated with, or snapped at, to specifically tell them, hey, I value you as a person, and I am apologizing for the behavior that I've had. And if I haven't told you about my context a little bit, it is, this might be the reason that I'm irritable right now, and I will do my best to minimize the impact on you, and I do apologize that it happened. That is something I've done at work a couple times when I've snapped at coworkers or employees of mine. But yeah, that's the thing. And more often than not, I do that and they're like, I didn't even fucking notice. You're just like a Midwesterner who's apologizing for kind of like squinting at me the wrong way as I walked away. But there's been times where I've had people tell me that was very valuable that I did that. And those are the reasons I do it every time, even if I don't know that I miscommunicated or snapped at someone. Last one, ability to execute flawlessly. Under the structures and previously laid down criteria, I am fortunate in that I have a drive strong enough to execute all of those flawlessly. I work hard and I do that. It's just what happens. I don't stray from the path as long as I've set it, and I don't look at food and think, well, fuck it today. It's not a thing. I'm fairly objective in my approach, where I recognize issues before they happen or as they're about to happen, and I adjust the plan accordingly, but I don't go off the rails. It's not a thing that I do, and it's not a thing that I've done in many years. That is a strength of mine, probably a feature of my personality that I've developed in all the years that I've been doing, big three work, lifting, bodybuilding, powerlifting, and just trying to be a rational, valuable adult. That's what I do. I have my drawbacks, ADHD, kind of laziness in general is a thing that I struggle with, and just not wanting to do stuff here and there. But for the most part, I set those things aside and just kind of take things and just do it. Other than that, yeah, that's the whole thing. That's all I got for today.